Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Monica. You know what time of year it is. It's spooky season, which means a whole new 13 days of Halloween with yours truly. So we're going to start off with Cthulhu. We're going to jump right into it. So you're going to want to find a super large bald cap, pretty much anything that's just going to be able to cover the entirety of your ear. Because unfortunately, in my opinion, ears would kind of break this look. So get that on your head, cut off the excess material, making sure all the areas that you need cover are still covered, and then you're going to use either some prosthetic or spirit gum to go ahead and adhere those edges, making them as smooth and flat as possible. Once you're done with that, we're going to take some liquid latex on a sponge and just start putting that over the edge of our bald cap. And on top of that liquid latex, we're going to take some tissue paper, just a single sheet, and go ahead and put another layer of liquid latex over that. This is just going to help give us a much smoother surface and hide those edges better. The nice thing about this look is you don't have to be too perfect with it, since we are going to have a very large prosthetic covering in our entire face pretty much. So a lot of these edges aren't going to be seen too much underneath the prosthetic, so don't worry too much about it, but still try to do your best job to make it as smooth as possible. While we let that dry down completely, we're going to put some black pencil in our waterline. We're going to prep our eyelids and then go ahead and apply some dark green eyeshadow all over the lid. Really just blow it out, cover that entire area up. Because again, our prosthetic's going to be laying over it, so we just want to make sure all those areas are going to be covered. Since Cthulhu's got all these tentacles going down the front of its body, we're not going to be able to see our upper body once we have the prosthetic on. So we want to make sure we're going to just go ahead and paint everything that we're not going to be able to easily get to once we get our mask on. So I'm just taking a dark green water activated face paint and putting that pretty much all over. I'm then going to take a lighter green water activated face paint, and using this on my upper body, I'm going to start to kind of give it a little bit of dimension. So I'm going to start lining my collarbones with this and kind of blending it out with a sponge to make it a little bit thicker. I'm then going back in with that dark green eyeshadow and defining those areas more. And then on a stippling sponge, I'm going to be using that light green paint again and just stippling this all over, creating a nice texture to the skin. So now's the part that we want to attach our mask slash prosthetic. But first, I'm going to show you how we made it. So what I did was I mixed some liquid latex with regular old kitchen flour until it created a paste with the consistency I liked. From there, we're going to go ahead and start scooping that onto our face cast. I'm starting off with creating kind of the brow bone shape, as well as around the nose and the kind of overall snout shape I was planning on making with this look, since Cthulhu doesn't really have a nose. So once I kind of got the base of that shape down, I'm then dipping my finger in regular liquid latex and going ahead and smoothing that all out, as well as creating a connecting point between the snout and the brow bone area. So just work as you go, build it up until you get an overall shape that you like that's somewhat similar to this. So before this dries down completely, I'm going ahead and ripping up some tin foil, and I'm just scrunching this all up together, and this is going to be the base of our tentacles. As you can see, the foil is a great tool to use because of the flexibility it has, so you have the option of getting your tentacles to twist all sorts of different ways if you would like. Once I have one of these made, I'm then going in and kind of pre-plotting where I'm going to be placing some of these, so that way I have an area to set them in once they're ready to go. At this point, go ahead and make all the tinfoil tentacles you're planning on making. Once you're done with that, we're going to start coating the underside of those tentacles with the latex paste. Just go ahead and cover up all of that tinfoil as much as you can. Once that's completely dry, we're then going to go in and grab some Cheerios and use these as the base of the shape or the little suction cups underneath the tentacles. I'm attaching these to our tentacle base with a hot glue gun, placing them in kind of a staggered pattern all the way down. Once you've got all your little suction cup guys placed, we're then going to go in and make sure to cover the complete tops, sides, front and back of the Cheerios with liquid latex. Once those underneath bits have dried completely, we're then going and starting to attach the tentacles to our face prosthetic. So on the very edges on either side, I kind of want to anchor down that edge piece, so make sure it really is attached to the face and just kind of flows with the side of the face as well. So I'm bringing that one a little bit higher up, but also making sure it's a little bit flatter to the face, so that way when we go in and cover it up with the latex paste, it kind of just has a nice smoother transition overall. Since there's a lot of layers to this look, obviously you want to make sure you're putting the bottom layer tentacles on first, covering the tops of those with the latex paste, letting that dry completely before adding on the top bits, so that way you just don't have an overall sticky mess that you're just gonna hate yourself for later. So now I'm finishing off the structuring bit of this whole piece by adding those last top tentacle bits to my prosthetic, just hot gluing them on there in those little crater divots that we made before, and then again going back in with that latex paste and covering up the remaining showing tinfoil completely. Making sure to smooth that down with some liquid latex on my finger again. Just get it as smooth as possible. The nice thing with this look is obviously it doesn't have to be perfectly smooth because it's a more organic skin-like look we're going for. So obviously having some of those bumps and grooves and inconsistencies with the texture actually totally works with this look, so yay! Once I'm done coating everything I need to coat, I'm just kind of going back in and adding any last minute remaining coats of liquid latex to the rest of the face just to get a little bit more structure and hold for the overall look. Now once everything is completely dry, we're going to start peeling it off the face cast. But before we do that, you want to make sure to powder your prosthetic, otherwise the latex is just going to stick on itself. So you can use either like a translucent setting powder if you like, or if you want to be cheap like me, you can just use flour like I'm using here. And then I'm just making sure to cover the entirety of the prosthetic with the powder. Once you peel it off your face cast, it should look something like this. Now before I plop this on my face, I want to make sure to cut off any excess latex bits. So I'm just taking a small pair of scissors and cutting off those little pieces, especially around the eye holes. Next, we're going to go ahead and grab that dark green water activated face paint, and we're just going to coat the entire back and front of this mask with that. Once that's completely dry, I'm then turning that back over and taking that light green water activated face paint and using this to paint all those little suction cups on the tentacles with this to make it stand out a little bit more. Between each coat of paint, once it's completely dry, I'm spraying it with this final seal spray, and what this does is just help make these water activated face paints less transferable, so that way when I'm picking it up with my hands, I'm not just getting a bunch of green paint all over them, and then going in and doing any little bit of touch-up painting where it looks like I need it, and then we're all good to go. I'm adhering the prosthetic onto my face with some Prozaid, making sure that's getting nice and tacky and holding it for about, no more than 5 minutes. Once that's on my face, because this mask is super bottom heavy, we want to make sure that the top half can withstand the weight without just falling off. So like with the bald cap, I'm going in and doing a combination of liquid latex and tissue paper, and not only does this help smooth out the transition from the prosthetic into the bald cap, but it also helps create a stronger base for everything to hold on to. While I'm waiting for that to totally dry down, I'm then taking a yellow water activated face paint and placing this on the stippling sponge. I'm going ahead and placing that all over my upper body, as well as onto the tentacles and the prosthetic and the bald cap. And this is just going to add an additional texture and dimension to our skin. Once our latex and tissue paper has dried down, I'm grabbing that dark green paint again and going ahead and starting to fill in all those areas that we haven't painted yet. I'm then going to create these little ears on each side of my head by just using some black face paint, making a little circle on each side, and then going around with some brown eyeshadow and creating kind of a shadow effect behind it. And then cleaning up some of that green face paint. Next, I'm going in with a combination of dark brown and black eyeshadows and using this to start to define the brow bone area and create some shadows around the eyes as well as underneath the tentacles where some shadows would naturally exist. Then going back in with that stippling sponge and finishing off that texturizing with a mixture of both that light green and yellow face paint. Then I'm grabbing some of that light green face paint on my finger and just using this to kind of highlight some areas and draw them forward a little bit more. Taking a brown water activated face paint and putting some on a brush and then flicking that all over my body to create that speckled, gritty texture that we like. And that's it, you guys. You are now Cthulhu. Thank you so much for watching. I'm so glad to have you guys on this 13 Days of Halloween journey this year. I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun. We have 12 more looks to go. It's going to be a long month. But as always, thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you for watching. Share this video if you like it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Instagram at Lady Paradox for more fun content. And then I'll see you guys in the next one. Mwah.